What's up guys, my name is Ryan and I spent the last several years exploring the incredible country of Switzerland, and I want to share with you my favorite places. So here's my Switzerland top 25. If anyone asks me where my favorite country is, I'll always reply with Switzerland. It's not only absolutely beautiful, but Switzerland is one of the most well-run, clean, and just overall perfect country on earth in my opinion. From endless enchanting villages to the majesty of the Alps, you'll understand why I love it so much when you visit. Let's start this video off at Grindelwald. Almost every time I come to Switzerland, I find myself back at this enchanting village. I mean, when you think of Switzerland, this is it. Swiss chalets, green pastures, and mountains everywhere you look. It never ceases to blow my mind. Now, Grindelwald is overshadowed by the Eiger Mountain. The Eiger's north face rises over 1,800 meters high and is considered to be one of the most challenging climbs in the Alps. Now, in Grindelwald, there's just so much to do. Me and my brother rented some e-bikes and we rode them up the mountain. We made it to the famous first cliff walk and checked that out, and then we rode to the Kulm Lake. I mean, I can't recommend Grindelwald enough. There's just something magical about this Swiss village. Now after, we're going to head over to Kulm. I recently visited this iconic spot and I was pleasantly surprised. Now to reach Kulm, you can walk from the Interlaken train station and then you'll take up this steep funicular that costs about $35. Now when you reach the top, there's a restaurant and incredible viewing area. If you want, you can hike up the mountain ridge to Hardergrat. I underestimated how far it was, but it still was beautiful up there. Now one of my favorite features of Kulm is the view that you get of the iconic Eiger, Monk, and Jungfrau mountains. I think one of the best times to go up here is during sunset. The light hits those mountains perfectly and creates for an amazing atmosphere up there. After, we're going to head over to eastern Switzerland to visit Silsersee. Located a few minutes outside of St. Moritz, I think this is one of the best places to experience the golden larches in the fall. The lake is just massive. It's the largest natural lake in the Alps above 1,000 meters. One of the unique features of the lake is this peninsula. It's almost like a connected island that juts out into the lake, and it's a great place to hike and explore some nature. There's a road that goes along the lake's edge, and I like just pulling off to one of the many rest stops and enjoying the beauty of this alpine lake. Now afterwards, we're going to take a drive on the nearby Bernina Pass. It's a scenic road that connects St. Moritz to the Italian border. On the drive, you'll witness massive mountain glaciers, and if you go in autumn, there's going to be tons of those golden larches. Now one of the main reasons I wanted to go on the Bernina Pass was to see the Brusio spiral viaduct. It's located right near the Italian border in the town of Brusio. It's this incredibly unique viaduct that was built in 1908 to reduce the incline gradient on the train. Now the famous Bernina Express rides along the viaduct many times during the day. While you're there, you can walk around and under the viaduct's 9 arches as you wait for the Bernina Express to pass by. After, we're going to go for a swim at Valle Verzasca. Located in the Italian region of Switzerland, Valle Verzasca is famous for having this medieval bridge that goes over some of the clearest river water in the world. I've been here several times, and every occasion I'm just baffled by the beauty of this place. The water is crystal clear, and the bridge is a prime place to do some cliff jumping. It took me a while to build up the courage to jump, but I was able to throw a gainer into the water. Another fun thing you can do is swim in the river. I brought some goggles, and I couldn't believe the clarity of the water. The rocks look so interesting from beneath, and even though it was cold, there's just something energizing about swimming in freezing cold water. After, we're going to visit the city of Zurich. Located in north central Switzerland, Zurich is one of the world's largest financial center. It's often labeled as one of the most expensive cities in the world. Now Zurich was founded by the Romans in 15 BC, and today it's the most populous city in Switzerland. I mean, it's just hard to beat the scenery of the city there. I love how it sits at the edge of the lake and the Limmernsee river runs right through it. Another thing that I love about Zurich is there's so many places that are just an hour or two's drive from the city. One of my favorite nearby places is Limmernsee. It's about an hour and a half drive from Zurich. You start by taking up a cable car, and when you reach the top, you're going to go through a 3-kilometer tunnel through the mountain. I believe it was originally built by a company who made the dam, and now you could walk through it. We reached the end and we arrived at the lake. It's a striking turquoise color surrounded by an amphitheater of mountain walls. Now the hike to the top was freaking hard. It's very steep and felt like it went on forever, but after about an hour, we made it to the iconic viewpoint. It's this rocky peninsula that gives you a perfect view of the reservoir below. I just had a blast running around up there. I mean, there's no greater feeling than running free in the mountains. afterwards we're going to visit Fronalpstock. Fronalpstock is this giant mountain that sits above Lake Lucerne. Now to reach it, you take the Stoesbaan funicular, which is the steepest in Europe, and it'll take you to the beautiful car-free village of Stoes. And from there, you'll take up 2 more chairlifts. Now once you reach the top, you'll have a phenomenal view of Lake Lucerne and the surrounding mountains. From Fronalpstock, you can make the hike to Klingenstock. It's a 4.4 kilometer trail that rides along the ridge. And once you reach Klingenstock, you can take the chairlift down to Stoes. Overall, such a beautiful area. Now after, we're going to visit Chäserrugg. Located in eastern Switzerland, about a 2-hour drive from Zurich. This is a mountain peak and also a ski resort in the winter. Now to reach the top, you'll take up a funicular and then another chairlift. When I reached the top, I was just stoked. It had just snowed the night before, so there was this fresh layer of powder, and it created for such a beautiful scenery. What I love about Chäserrugg is the view you get of the Schierfürsten mountain range. It's a set of peaks that look like teeth coming out of the mountain. I mean, it's so cool, and I love to come up here during the summertime. While you're up there, you can get a bite to eat at the Modern Lodge, where there's plenty of hiking trails with amazing views. Right below Chäserrugg is one of my favorite lakes in Switzerland, Walensee. It's this rather large lake, and it's surrounded by mountains on both sides. I mean, it's an amazing place to go swimming or boating in the summertime. One thing that I thought was so interesting was that there's this town that was built on the mountainside called Almer. I mean, it just baffles me that the Swiss are able to build villages and towns in the most unlikely places. After, we're going to head over to the mountains of Appenzell. Located about an hour outside of Zurich, these mountains quickly became one of my favorite places I've ever been. It's home to these massive, jagged mountains that look like something straight out of Lord of the Rings. Now to get up the mountain, I took a gondola, and then from the top we hiked about an hour to reach this hotel. Me and my buddy Danny decided to stay the night so we could watch the sunset. We got all settled in, then we ventured off to find the perfect spot to watch the sunset. The clouds were covering the sky, so we only had about 15 minutes of sunlight, but man, it was easily one of the best sunsets of my life. I mean, I just can't believe the beauty of these mountains. It's what dreams are made of. Now there's also a one-of-a-kind restaurant built into the side of a cliff, and there's also this incredible lake at the bottom. Both of them I failed to visit, so don't make my mistake if you come. After, we're going to visit the nearby Saxer Lücke. Now I've been wanting to do this hike for years, and I finally did it this fall. You can start the hike several ways. I took the cable cart from Frumsen, and it was about 36 Swiss francs round trip. And when you reach the top, there's this scenic mountainside restaurant that has some amazing views of Austria and Liechtenstein. Now you can follow the trail to Saxer Lücke. It wasn't too difficult and took about 45 minutes to reach the iconic rock formation. I mean, I was just freaking excited to be up there. It's such a uniquely shaped mountain, and there's plenty of great viewpoints to see it from. I was here during the fall, so the grass was yellow, but I love to come back in the summertime when everything's nice and green. I mean, I just love the mountains in the Appenzell region. They're just so unique and just such a beautiful area all around. After, we're going to head over to western Switzerland to visit the charming medieval town of Gruyères. I was here this last summer, and I was just blown away by this little town. The crowning feature of Gruyères is its castle. It was built in the 13th century, and today it stands as one of Switzerland's most famous fortresses. I just love the backdrop it has of the Alps. I mean, just such an insane location. Aside from the castle, the town is just fun to walk around, and it's also known for being the home of the famous Gruyère cheese, which is one of the most popular cheeses in all of Switzerland. Now afterwards, we're going to head to the nearby Glacier 3000. Now located about an hour from Gruyères, Glacier 3000 is this incredible mountain area. Now the main reason I wanted to go here was to visit the Peak Walk, which is the only peak-to-peak bridge in all of Switzerland. We had to take 2 gondolas up to get there, and when we reached the top, we were at the edge of some clouds. I mean, it was just so wild to be up there, and I'd love to go back on a clear day to get a better view of the mountains. Now, right below Glacier 3000, there's this place called Creux du Champ. It's this gigantic bowl of mountains, and there's several waterfalls that cascade down the rock face. Now the mountains in the bowl are called the Les Diablerae, which translates to the devils, because there's a myth that devils and demons would throw rocks off the top of the mountain. Now to get to the bowl, it's about a 45-minute walk from the town of Les Diablerae. I mean, it's just such a scenic and quiet area, and definitely worth the visit. Now afterwards, we're going to visit one of my favorite cities in all of Switzerland, Geneva. Located on the southern tip of Lake Geneva in western Switzerland, Geneva is Switzerland's second most populous city after Zurich. I was lucky enough to live here for a summer, and I just absolutely loved it. It's where the headquarters of the United Nations are, so there's a lot going on. The Geneva Water Fountain is one of the city's most famous landmarks, as it jets out water that shoots over 140 meters high. I mean, I just love Geneva, and I hope you all can visit one day. Now, if you want to explore more of Lake Geneva, I recommend checking out the vineyards that border the lake. One of my favorite places is near this village called Epesses. It's full of terraced vineyards that accompany the view of the massive lake. I mean, it doesn't even feel like you're in Switzerland. I felt like I was in France or Italy. The north shore of Lake Geneva is called the Swiss Riviera, and I totally understand why. Now, afterwards, we're going to visit Oechinensee. Now, I think this is one of the most impressive alpine lakes in all of Switzerland. To reach it, it's about an hour's drive from Interlaken, and then you can either hike up or take up a gondola. Now, when you reach the top, it's just a short walk to the lake. The mountain face that serves as the lake backdrop is just unbelievably massive. Now, if you go in the summertime, you can take a boat or swim in the water if you can handle the cold. Now, one of my favorite things to do in Oechinensee is to hike the trail that goes above the lake. You'll just get some phenomenal views up there, and there's also this pair of pine trees that are perfectly lined up as they overlook the lake and creates for such a beautiful sight. Now, after, we're going to head over to Fafleralp. Special thanks to my buddy Gemographic for taking me here. He has one of the best YouTube channels on Switzerland, and I'll link it in the description below. Now, if you're into hiking and nature, you'll really enjoy this place. It's this valley surrounded by massive mountains on both sides and home to those golden larches. To get there from Oechinensee, you can take this train that you drive your car onto, and it'll take you through the mountain, and then it's just a short drive after. There's a big parking lot, and from there you can take about a 20-minute hike, and you'll reach this little alpine lake called Gruyères. I mean, it was so clean and clear and had an impressive backdrop of the mountains. Now, if you're really up for adventure, you can hike up to the glacier, and there's some beautiful mountain huts up there. After, we're going to visit the idyllic village of Lungern. If you're on your way to visit the Jungfrau region from Zurich, you'll probably pass through Lungern. Now, one of my favorite features of this area is its lake. I really enjoyed just walking along this shore. It was so peaceful and serene. I mean, if you're looking for an idyllic Swiss village, you'll find it here. Another notable nearby village is Itselwald. It's a small municipality built on Lake Brienz. Now, one of the most notable features of the city is its castle, which sits perfectly on the picturesque peninsula. I mean, Switzerland just has too many scenic villages. Now, after, we're going to visit the Aletsch Glacier. Now, located in the Bernese Alps, the Aletsch Glacier is over 23 kilometers long, making it the longest glacier in Switzerland. I mean, just so freaking huge. When I got to the top, it was just hard to fathom the scale of this glacier, and I found the uniform dark lines of shattered rock so interesting. When you're up at the top, you can enjoy a meal at the restaurant, or you could hike to the cross on Egeshorn Peak to get a panoramic view of the glacier. Now, at the very end of Aletsch Glacier is the Jungfraujoch. Me and my buddies decided to take Europe's highest train to the top. Now, normally the tickets in summertime cost around $240, but we got the early bird special, so it was half off. We rode the train up the mountain. Halfway, we made a pit stop and we were able to see the glacier. After the pit stop, we got back on the train and made it to the top. When you reach the final stop, you'll get off the train and go through some tunnels. It was a little confusing to me. Anyways, we made it to the ice plateau and we were able to get an incredible view of the glacier below. After, we went on top of the Sphinx Observatory to get some more amazing views. Now, one of the coolest parts of Jungfraujoch is the glacier tunnels. You're able to walk through these tunnels carved out of ice, and surprisingly, it wasn't too cold or slippery. While a trip to Jungfraujoch is expensive, I think everyone should do it at least once in their life. After, we're going to head down to the magical village of Lauterbrunnen. This is possibly the most beautiful village on earth. It's a valley of over 72 waterfalls, and it inspired J.R.R. Tolkien's Rivendell. To get to Lauterbrunnen, it's about a 2-hour drive from Zurich. The Stavik Falls is one of the most magical features of Lauterbrunnen. It falls over 297 meters into the valley. If you do visit Lauterbrunnen, I recommend just walking around the village and marveling at all the beauty Lauterbrunnen has to offer. After, we're going to visit the village of Murren. Now, just from Lauterbrunnen, it's just a few minutes drive down the valley. Now, the city is just enchanting. It's filled with Swiss chalets and incredible views. The main reason I wanted to go to Murren is to do the iconic Via Ferrata. I rented some gear at the Intersport store for about $25, and I was all ready to go. Before you start, you walk through this tunnel. It's a good initiation and gets you pumped or nervous for what's to come. You then follow the path, and it's pretty chill for the first bit. You just walk through a little forest, but then you get to the cliffs. There was this base jump platform to jump into the valley below. Just standing on it made my stomach drop. Anyways, after that, the Via Ferrata gets a little wild. My favorite part is the section that goes across this sheer cliff face with the 1,000-foot drop right below you. I mean, it's perfectly safe as long as you're clipped in to the iron wire with your gear. After the cliff section, we continued on the trail, and the final obstacle is a bridge that goes over a deep canyon. This was honestly the scariest part for me because it was kind of shaky towards the middle, and the 1,000-foot plus drop is intimidating, but nonetheless I finished and made it to the town of Grindelwald. It took me about 2 hours to do, and it was so freaking fun. Another incredible place to visit in the area is Schilthorn. It's an iconic mountain peak above Murren. Now the lift tickets were on the pricey side, around $125 a person, and you take up several lifts through the clouds until you reach the top. The Schilthorn is famous for being featured in the 1969 James Bond film. There's a lot of 007 memorabilia on top. The views are jaw-dropping up there. You'll get clear views of the Jungfrau, Monk, and Eiger Mountains. You can enjoy a meal in the rotating restaurant that completes a full rotation every 45 minutes. We followed a trail that led us on the ridge. I saw a guy preparing to paraglide, and we found some little huts to shelter from the wind. The weather conditions changed so fast up there. 1 second it would be clear, and then a few minutes later it would be covered in clouds. I mean, gotta love those high altitude conditions. Now after exploring Schilthorn, you can take the gondola to the lower station of Berg. There's incredible views and a place to have a meal. There's also the Thrill Walk attraction, which has several fun obstacles, whether it's walking on a tightrope or crawling through a wire tube with quite a drop below. It's sure to get your adrenaline pumping. Now for our final destination, we're going to visit Zermatt. It's a charming village shadowed over by the daunting Matterhorn mountain, and there's just something magical about this place. Now the city is full of shops and restaurants, including my favorite, McDonald's. Now one thing you gotta do while you're there is take the Gonnergrat Railway. It starts in Zermatt and takes you up to 3,100 meters to enjoy some of the best views of the Matterhorn. We got up super early to take the first train and climbed up the mountain. I was just baffled by the views. Now we got off at the Rotenboden station, and I was just so freaking excited. I've been wanting to come here for years, and it lived up to the hype. There are 2 lakes that offer some of the best views of the Matterhorn, and if the conditions are just right, you can see a perfect reflection of the world famous peak. Not only is the views magical, but there are some of the cutest sheep I've ever seen. They have the curliest hair and twisted horns and look like an animal you would find in a fantasy novel. Now after running around, we took the train to the top of the railway to the Gonnergrat. It's one of the coolest hotels that I'd love to stay at one day. It reminds me of an evil villain's hideout. Once again, you'll get incredible views of the Matterhorn and the massive glacier below. Now, if you want to get up close and personal to the Matterhorn, I'd recommend you take the gondola up to Schwarzsee. It costs about $60 a person, and you get on the lift in Zermatt. It then takes you up to this little mountain lake called Schwarzsee, and from there you can hike up to the base of the Matterhorn. And this was probably one of my favorite things we did in Zermatt. You get a chance to see the Matterhorn up close, and it's just so freaking incredible. I truly think mountains give off some sort of energy because I'm always amped and excited when I'm near them. If you're in Zermatt, you gotta do this hike. Well, that is it for my Switzerland top 25. There's still so many places I want to show you, so be expecting a part 2. Let me know where your favorite place is in Switzerland in the comments below. It's Ryan, and we will see you later.